Hey everyone, hope you're having a good week as usual. I am at my first Enduro of 2018 and I'm quite excited. This is going to be the first time I fully get to test out my new Enduro bike, the big green beast. And I just can't wait to see how this thing copes with all these steep trails, because we are at Innerleithen. Well, you can't actually see Innerleithen, the town centre's over there somewhere. We are going to go up, I think possibly to the top of there, twice. And then these are the Innerleithen downhill trails. They are so steep. We've got to go, well, even further than that, like twice as far as that, up some of the steepest tracks you've ever seen. This is going to be fun. I actually got here a little bit late. I was in a bit of a panic trying to get things to work, last minute adjustments. I've actually officially started the race now. I probably shouldn't be filming, I should probably just be up the hill already, but because I was in such short time I had to go and get signed on. I hadn't even got my shin pads and knee pads on yet, so I've had to come back to the van anyway, and I thought this is a pretty good time to do the intro. I got a nice early start time, so I've got the whole day to do this, so it's not too bad. Speaking of changes on the bike, other than Manny's stem, which is still doing a sterling job, I've actually cut my bars down a wee bit. They were 800mm wide, you probably can't tell from those stupid angles, but they're now 780mm wide. Put some different grips on, a bit more ergonomic, and also you can see I've got an MT7 front brake on there. I would have one on the back, but unfortunately they don't fit with the tight clearance in the seat stays there. Couldn't get that to focus, come on. There we go. So yeah, Maguras don't fit in the back of this, unfortunately, but these Shimano brakes, which I did have on there, tend to pump up load. So as I'm going down, the bike point's going from, well, this is the Magura lever, obviously. The bike point's going from there, then further out, which is not good for arm pump. And speaking of arm pump, in practice yesterday, I found out my arm pump has changed. It's gone from getting numb hands and kind of just feeling like my hands are just going to slide off the grips. It's gone from that to just cramp, which I think is a fairly common thing. To me, this is a good thing. Cramp means it's potentially fixable with diet. If I drink lots, get lots of electrolytes in, possibly change the setup. So I've rolled the handlebars back a little bit, trying to get it a little bit more comfy. So today's going to be the true challenge, because I can't stop for rest on the halfway down the downhills. So let's see how bad it can get. Speaking of trails, conditions are absolutely prime. Honestly, this is probably the nicest conditions I've ever ridden in Scotland. It's actually, look at this, potentially dusty. I've never ridden in dust before. This is going to be so good. Yesterday, riding down the hill, they were absolute prime. Grip was so good. No mud, apart from a couple of bits, but yeah, I'm looking forward to this. Oh, and also I'm riding full face helmet today. I've got my GoPro on the top. I did want to get a chest view, but my equipment I bought today did not work. So we've got a helmet to view, and I've got the Rilo with me. It's going to be probably too dark in the woods, so it's mainly going to be in a GoPro. A few Rilo shots thrown in if they work out. Speaking of Rilo shots, this is one of them. It can do a pretty good high plat with a bit of motion blur. But by now I'd got my shin and knee pads on, gone back into town and started the climb. We started in the centre of Innerleithen. We had to climb up the road until we got to the golf course, turn off into the woods, climb up the 5 road tracks and just make our way to the top. I like to just tag onto a few people and see if I can use their slipstream just to help me on the climbs a little bit. Not that it's actually going to help, but I just quite like riding up the hill with people. As we start to climb, the trees thin out a little bit and we get some pretty decent views. It has actually started raining a little bit. Unfortunately, I got a few drops on the lenses. I had to look, I couldn't actually see some as I was climbing, otherwise I would have wiped them off. Sorry about that. Now we turn off onto the dirt paths. A lot of people start to push here. I was actually finding I used less energy to actually ride up here than I did to push. If I start pushing, I use my calves. My calves are really weak. I've got stronger quads, so to me it was a lot easier to ride up here. Plus a bonus, it was quicker, which was pretty handy because, as you'll see in a minute, these queues are pretty big. That was a fairly brutal climb up to stage 1. There is an absolutely mental queue for this one, so probably going to be here for quite a while. But yeah, time to chill out, relax, get some drinks and then pin it down here. Stage 1 was the only stage that started actually up on the moorlands out of the tree line. I absolutely love riding on this type of terrain. It feels like even if you do fall off, the heather isn't going to be that painful. So this bit you can absolutely pin, stay off the brakes on these corners and just get so much grip from this dirt. Once you start getting down a hill where people do start to brake, there are a few braking bumps, but I'm trying to stay off the brakes as much as I can, stay out of the bumps, actually riding on the heather if I need to, and just trying to just save my arms for later because I know I'm going to be using them a lot further down this hill. And we're just enjoying the openness of the moorlands because as soon as we get in these trees, it gets super tight. And this is actually one of the stages that made me want to cut down my bars. In practice, I hit my hands off so many trees, it was getting stupid. So cutting the bars down made a massive difference. It helped quite a lot. There's not many line choices in these trees at the minute. It's pretty much just go down as fast as you can, avoid the cameramen, and try not to hit the trees, try not to mess up your corners, and so far I'm pretty pleased with how this has gone. About now it starts to really point down the hill. There's actually a lot of loose rock as well. You can actually hear the rock sliding down the hill after me because I'm skidding quite a bit, and it's quite hard to keep your feet up. The bike's wanting to slide around quite a lot, but so far I've kept my feet up, which I was pretty pleased with. Just when you thought it couldn't get any steeper, yep, it gets steeper. I wouldn't normally say hi to or even offer help to a passing rider, but at this point I was just concentrating so hard. This bit in particular is so steep, and then it adds some little drops in there, and in practice I practically overshot this corner and had to go back up the hill and try it again, because if you went down there in the race run, yeah, that would hurt.
Can't believe I kept that feet up.
There's a line back there I think I could have taken better, but down here again it's more just a single trail, not many lines you can take. Because that was so steep, I've been holding on quite hard. I can actually feel my arms a little bit. I said it's arm pump, but it's more like arm cramp, so it's not too bad. Steep bit, and then we can let the brakes off, try and roll it, and then we've got a bit of a river section here. Reminds me of a moto enduro. Actually felt really nice to have the water splashing my legs, so actually a bit refreshing. So the trail's mellowed off quite a bit now, even a little bit of uphill. And this bit's actually pretty cool. You can lay off the brakes a little bit because it's not as steep, rest the arms and just have a little bit of fun. I actually thought I was going to lose my front wheel landing a bit wrong there, but it grips pretty well and got away with murder a little bit. So now I'm getting pretty tired, but I know we're coming up to the end of the stage, so I'm just trying my hardest not to mess it up right at the end. I saw a couple of brutal crashes in practice at the end here, so just trying to make it to the end on my very first one, get a good one under the belt.
Whoa.
Right, that's stage one done. I reckon that was the best riding I've ever done in any enduro ever. Managed to keep feet up the entire way down, didn't miss any turns, didn't make any major mistakes, and yeah, I'm really curious to see how well I've done. It's definitely not the fastest time, but I just want to see how much an improvement that is over last year. There was one casualty. My bottle cage came loose and I no longer have a bottle, which is a bit frustrating. Whoops indeed. Just at the queue for stage 2, And this one is a long one. If I can get down this without any arm pump, I'll be onto a winner, but let's find out. Right, so stage 2. I've ridden something very similar to this last year and I had to stop twice for arm pump. This one is unforgiving. There's not many rocks, but just so many undulations and natural braking bumps, and of course all the trees as well. It ends up pointing quite steep, so I'm on the brakes quite a lot as well. If I can get down this one without too many mistakes like that, then I'll be happy. This is another stage that made me cut down my bars. There's so many tight gaps down here. Wide bars, you just have no chance. And like I mentioned at the start of the video, these are such prime conditions. Normally whenever I come and ride Innerleithen or any Scottish trails in woods like these, they're normally the muddiest place in the world. Whereas this one, it's had about a week to dry out, and I love dry pine forests to ride in. They just have so much grip and loam, it just feels so good. So far on this stage, I'm doing pretty well. I had one mistake up near the top. I'm beginning to feel my arms a little bit, but I can push through. I'm just trying to find any flat points I can just to rest my arms or have a sit down. But this one, as you can see, the floor is so undulating. It doesn't really give you any opportunity to do that. So the stage starts to point downhill a little bit more. Still, you got the braking bumps and undulations, but at least I don't have to try and pedal across them now. I've not really made any other major mistakes. I'm not going down as fast as the fast guys, but I'm pretty happy with how this has gone. I've not hit any trees, I've not fallen off, the grip is good, my arm pump is manageable, so yeah, so far so good. Again, there's not been many line choices so far, but there's a couple of here that have opened up. I probably didn't take the fastest line, but I'm quite happy with how that's gone. There is a line there which I think could have been a little bit faster, but yeah, probably only like a microsecond or something. Right, now we've got a bit of a fire road climb. I've got my brakes off, the seats come up, it's time to pedal, pedal, pedal. This corner here, because it's so dry, trying to take the inside line, but it just felt so sketchy. Felt like I was just going to slide out on it. But now we've got a bit of a climb, crunch those gears, I'm sitting down, pedaling, trying to sprint as fast as I can, and now we turn right, back down to the trails. And I practiced these a few times yesterday, and I feel like I can ride these ones pretty well. My hand and foot cramp is setting in pretty well now, but I can put those in the back of my mind. This bit is actually really, really fun. The stage starts to point a bit more downhill. It seems to open up a little bit so I can go a bit faster, but it soon gets tight again. The grip's really good down here. Quite happy with that line choice I did there. Seen a few other people post their videos, and I think the way I did it was definitely the fastest. Now up ahead I can spot a rider. I've been trying to look as far ahead as I can, and normally I wouldn't be able to spot him, but I've spotted him and I want to catch him up. I'm actually pretty stoked to have caught anyone up. Last year, yeah, I don't think I really caught that many people up at all, so to do this on my second stage, I was pretty stoked. I wasn't too worried about overtaking him because we're right at the end of the stage, so I just thought, stick behind him, no big deal. Right, that's stage 2 done. Again, pretty pleased with how that went. A couple of dabs, but the main thing is I did a 6-minute plus track and I didn't have to stop for arm pump, so that is a major thing. Just stopped for a bit of lunch and it had a bit of a rain shower, which I kind of thought might make some of the tracks a bit grippier, but this is one of the tracks I actually didn't practice yesterday, and I've been told it's quite rocky, quite rooty, so probably, yeah, this rain hasn't helped at all. So we'll soon find out. I'm beginning to regret going home as early as I did last night, so this is completely blind.
Okay, you're good to go.
Cheers.
So yeah, in practice I had the choice, either ride all the stages and potentially be knackered for the race, or try a few that I wanted to know where they went and then save my energy and just ride them blind. I have no idea where this stage goes. I did get some tips from the guys in the queue that this one's quite a pedally one, maybe some uphill bits, so I actually decided to keep my shock on climb mode. It's not fully locked out, but it's a little bit more supportive. To be honest with you, I probably wouldn't recommend doing that. I think having a fully working shock would have probably been more beneficial than any potential pedaling help it would have given me. So yeah, keep your shocks unlocked, kids. But so far this stage hasn't been too bad. It's fairly flattish, slightly downhill. You can get a few pedal strokes here and there. The rocks have got pretty greasy. There's a few logs in there that look pretty slippery as well, but no major mistakes. So far, a couple of slips, a couple of dabs, but not too bad. Being blind, I don't know what the good lines are, so I'm just trying to look as far ahead as I can, try and pick the lines. There's definitely some faster lines I could have taken, but all in, for being completely blind down here, never ridden before, I'm quite happy with some of the choices that I made.
Pedal. Yeah, boy.
I'm just trying to get a few pedal strokes in where I can, but at the same time I don't want to knacker myself out by sprinting too much to the top and then not being able to do anything down at the bottom. It's quite cool to have long straights like this. You can actually have a little bit of a relax. I think I have my seat up by this point, just having a bit of a pedal, resting those legs, and even give my arms a shake if I can. Bit of a mess on that corner there, back tyre slid out, had a bit of a dab, that slowed me down a little bit. And again, more undulating terrain. It's actually really hard to pedal on without striking your pedals. So I'm just trying to get the pedal strokes in where I can, but it's actually pretty difficult. Again, another respite here, just have a bit of a sit down, put the seat up, give my arms a shake, trying to get rid of all the arm pump and cramp. Now I thought it looked pretty smooth up ahead, so I actually kept my seat up. I cannot ride at all with my seat up if it gets bumpy, so I actually made quite a major mistake there. Had to put the seat back down and yeah, get back on with it.
Come on, keep it together. I'm losing it, come on.
It doesn't look that fast, but it felt pretty fast at the time. I thought I could blast this berm, but on the way out, again, one of my tyres slipped. Didn't have my weight in the right place. Not used to the berms, so yeah, bit of a mistake there. And again, I can see a rider up ahead. Trying to look like the last stage, trying to look far enough ahead. Spotted this guy, and again tried to make it my goal to catch him up and overtake him. Fortunately, this guy heard me coming and let me pass. Cheers, dude. So we've been going 4 minutes now, and I have no idea how long this stage is. I don't know whether there's going to be many uphills. We've got to one now, or what's going to come at the end. So I'm trying to go as fast as I can, but also trying to save my energy. I was warned that there was going to be this climb, so I was prepared. I had my seat up, I got into the correct gears, and had a bit of a sit-down sprint up this bit.
Jesus.
And still, I have no idea where this goes. I'm trying to have a look ahead, but the trees are blocking me a little bit. I felt like I could have gone around those corners a bit faster, but without knowing what's coming up ahead, I didn't want to blast around them in a fast gear and then have a bit of a climb, a bit like that. And I see a few people around, and then I see the finish line, and thank God for that. I was absolutely knackered.
They weren't kidding, stage 3 was a peddler, but it's not even a smooth peddler, it's just filled with rocks and roots, so even when you try and pedal, everything's trying to slow down. I got a few pedal strikes in there, a few mistakes, so it wasn't the best stage I've done yet. This one is going to be even worse. This is stage 4, people have been warning me even about this one. This is the most pedally one, it's pretty much just cross country. Not my strong point, so I'm kind of expecting my worst result on this one, as long as I don't fall off on stage 5. So, join the queue, let's get on with it.
45, anytime you like.
Thank you very much.
Anyone come up to 5?
Alright everyone, I'm going to be honest with you here. This is a long stage. If you want to skip any of the cross-country part of it, I'd recommend going forward to about the 30-minute mark. That's when it starts to get a bit steeper and a bit more interesting.
Roots are getting slippery now.
But until then, like I said, this is the longest stage. This is the stage that everyone was talking about, and also one of the stages that I didn't practice. So I'm completely blind on this one, don't know where it's going, and judging from my last stage, I'm going to struggle with this one. And also, a bit like the last stage, the rain has got into these roots and rocks a little bit. It's made them a little bit slick. And I don't know whether to try and ride this with my seat up. A bit like the previous stages, it's very undulating. It's quite hard to actually sit down and pedal on this stuff. The good technique would actually be to treat it like a pump track, try and pump to get speed, but that is such hard work on the thighs, such hard work on the legs. I just don't have the strength and stamina for that. So I'm trying to pedal where I can, trying to roll where I can, and just save my energy. This is a long one, it's about a 10-minute stage, so I don't want to, like the past one, I don't want to knack myself out before I get to the end of it. So I learned my lesson from the last stage. I've got my rear shock fully unlocked, just to give myself a bit more comfort over all the rocks, lumps. Maybe I can pedal a bit more over the bumps and sacrifice a bit more efficiency.
Jeez, this is hard to pedal. God, steady pace. It's not a sprint, not for me.
My goal for this stage was to not be caught up by anyone. I knew I wasn't going to be the fastest on it, but I definitely didn't want to be the slowest on it. So I'm trying to just go at a pace I think I can keep up and won't get caught. And like the previous stage, without knowing what's coming up or what's ahead, I'm just trying to look and see where the good lines are, trying to keep out of the mud, and yeah, just trying to be efficient. It's not a sprint, I'm just trying to go in this for the marathon, be efficient, pick the good lines if I can, and try not to make any major mistakes. I was actually quite pleased with some of the lines I managed to pick through here. It was really slippery. I was expecting at any point just to be lying on the floor. These logs and rocks do not forgive any mistakes. I think there's usually a couple of lines that people are taking, but it seems that I'm picking and choosing. I'll be in one line, then I'll swap over to another line. So I'm quite happy. There's a few mistakes, like I dabbed then, but other than that, I'm quite happy with how I've managed that. So now we're out of the woods and the mud, we're back onto more of a trail centre type track. This is cool because this gives me a chance to shake out my arms, get a bit of energy back in them, get my seat up, I can have a bit of a pedal, rest my legs a little bit, and then yeah, see what comes next. There's a few sneaky shortcuts on these corners. Now this is all slightly uphill, but it's not too bad. You can keep a bit of momentum on it. Unfortunately, I thought the track went left there, so that wasn't the fastest line in the world.
Ow, hit the tree. Ow. Need one of those hand guards. Right, seat up. Bet this looks slow.
I can't hear anyone behind me yet, so that means no one's caught me up, which is good. I'm not seeing anyone up ahead either, so that means I've not caught anyone up. So I don't know how fast I'm going. I don't know whether this is a good or a slow pace. I just have to keep going as fast as I can and see if I can make it to the bottom.
Give me steep and rough over this any day.
I do have a bit of hand and foot cramp by this point. It's not too bad that makes me have to slow down, but it's definitely there. If the track got any steeper or any rougher, I think I'll start to struggle a little bit. This bit was actually pretty fun. It's quite flowy, some rocks to catch you out, but other than that, yeah, this bit was quite enjoyable. Some interesting lines over that bit there. And then this awkward bit here. I thought that was just straight. I almost just cut the tape. Glad I didn't, because I'm making a video and it was showing my cheating. And also by this point, obviously I've caught someone up, so that's cool. It means I'm doing fairly well, or at least better than I thought I was doing. And just waited for a point, get past this guy, thanks a lot, and then sprint away. Only to find a horrible, rocky, steep climb. This thing was horrendous. Did not expect that, wasn't in the right gear. Yeah, pretty slow.
Oh, that's brutal.
So back in the woods now. This is when it starts to get a little bit interesting. I didn't know what was coming up, but I was warned, it does get a little bit steep at the end of this. Definitely wasn't the fastest line there. Only afterwards did I see the line over to the right.
Oh, they told me about
Sod's
that
law,
one.
but oh well. Get it next time. Again, another reason I was glad I cut down my bars, some tight gaps down here. Felt pretty cool though, just straight lining it through these trees. I did actually hit my shoulders on a few of them, came back with a few grazes on my arms and the knuckles. Now this bit wasn't so steep, but because I was having to concentrate so hard, all the roots and bumps, my arms were cramping up like mad at this point, and my feet. I was starting to get a lot of foot cramp as well. So, of course, at the end of nearly 9 minutes of riding, bad arm cramp, foot cramp, getting a bit of arm pump by now, they decided to send you down the steepest part of the trail, on almost the steepest bit in the entire day. I was struggling quite a bit by this point, but the track was riding pretty well. It was actually really fun. I could put the pain behind me a little bit and just get down this as fast as I can and then start to enjoy it.
I need this to end before my hand comes off the bar.
Yeah, I was really hoping the finish would be pretty soon. I had such bad hand cramp. Fortunately, I saw the end was just there, just in time.
Wow. That stage 4 done, that was a brute. It wasn't quite as uphilly as I thought it was going to be, but it was just long and unforgiving. And just when you're absolutely knackered, they decided to send you down one of the steepest chutes of the day. So that was fun. I was pretty glad when it was over because my left hand was going to come off the bars at any moment. And then, yeah, there was a massive climb after that as well, which has got us back up to the top. Met some friends, these guys.
Like, comment and subscribe.
5,000
feet of climbing.
5,000 feet of climbing so far. Oh, so far that's it. Yeah, we're at the top now. Stage 5 starts there. We've got a bit of a queue. This one is steep, practically zero pedaling, which is handy. It's going to be a test of the arm pump. This is also the stage that made me cut down my handlebars. There's some pretty tight trees, so yeah, I'm actually looking forward to this one. It should be fun. Good luck, man.
Yeah, cheers, man. Oh, nice. Oh, it's building up now. All at it.
Cheers, man.
Cool, stage 5. This is one that I practiced yesterday and absolutely loved it. I've been looking forward to this one all day. Unfortunately, at that point there, my back tyre hit a rock. I didn't know, but I had a slow puncture at this point. I had a hole in my tyre, too big for the sealant to seal, and my tyre was going down. So I was trying to still push as hard as I can. We had a few line choices here. I got a bit lost. I didn't really know which one to take. I think the other one's probably faster, but again, oh well. A few nice drops there into some berm catches. I started to think my bike was feeling a little bit weird by this point.
Oh, I've got a flat rear tyre.
And yeah, by this point I definitely knew I had a puncture.
Oh, you're kidding.
So frustrating. I didn't know whether just to chill for the rest of the ride or do an Aaron Gwyn and just pin it. I've got a Hook Norris in the back and the tyre was a fairly tight fit on the rim, so it didn't actually feel like it was going to come off. I definitely felt like it was squirming quite a bit, but I was a little bit worried on the off-camber stuff that you know, I might end up sliding, but it actually didn't feel too bad. I ended up thinking, you know what, this is Danny's old wheel. It's one of the Santa Cruz wheels. Danny put his through some pretty heavy duty tests. If it can cope with him, it can cope with me. So I just decided, you know what, I'm just going to pin it anyway, go as fast as I can and just enjoy this. I hit that tree there, and that actually hurt quite a lot. Whoa. Then my bars caught that tree, which actually sent me straight down the hill. Doesn't look that steep, but yeah, you wouldn't want to go fall down there. Quite pleased with that line, straight downhill, off the drop. Even with the flat tyre, it still seemed to handle quite nicely. Now there's a little bit of a transfer between the trails here. Just have a wee peek down, see what the tyre's saying, and yet completely flat. I'm surprised the bike still rode as fast as it did, even with a flat tyre. And even on flat fire roads like this, but yeah, it was actually pretty rapid. This trail just had a lot of flow, it just felt so good to ride. Definitely need to come back here, do some uplift day and try and film this when I've actually got an inflating rear tyre. A slight uphill climb, not ideal. This bike definitely prefers being pointed downhill. I've actually been surprised at how well it climbs, but these steep switchbacks definitely where this bike lives. It's actually pretty cool down here with all these people watching and cheering. I tried to go down here as smooth and as fast as I could. Felt a little bit like surfing. The most fun I had all day.
Oh no! Fucking diving!
Right at the top. That stage 5 done. Got a puncture right near the top, even with a Huck Norris on the back. Pretty frustrating, but the tyre felt like it was still pretty firmly attached to the rim, so I just pinned it anyway. And to be honest with you, I don't think I would have gone much faster, even with an inflated tyre. But anyway, I'm now back at the headquarters. Gonna hand in my transponder and see where I've come.
That is me all done. Just handed in my transponder, got my time. I got a sub 30-minute time, which I'm happy with. That is a lot of racing and I am absolutely pooped. As I leave now going home, I'm currently 22nd in my category, which I think has about 60 people in it. I think that's a definite improvement from last year. I don't know whether it's just because I've been going to the gym trying to get a little bit of training in there, or going to see Daniel the osteopath, or even just changing to a new bike, but the arm pump issue is a lot better. I still got it, but instead of being numb hands, it now feels like hand cramp. But I did manage to do like 10-minute runs without stopping, so yeah, I'm feeling this is a big improvement. So I'm gonna go home, get fed, and then sleep like mad, and I'll post my final place now. I hope you guys liked this episode. I want to do some more Enduros later this year, so let me know if you liked this one. But until then, everyone, take care, be fluent, go out, ride your bikes, have fun, and I'll catch you next time. So see you later, everyone. Bye-bye.